Hi, my name is Brandon Washington. My thesis is called Spectacle. The spectacle is a communication tool that employs fantasy to sell you shit. It's ubiquitous. It's social media, store displays and advertising, television, the Kardashians, sports and entertainment, political campaigns, movies, in school, to name a few. All these things are selling the idea of how you should live your life and what you should aspire to be. Usually it means a person who watches and consumes life instead of living it. It's not fulfilling. It's an empty way to live, and it's not real happiness. Our rapid consumer culture contributes to status envy, class divide, personal debt, and pollution, and so on. It all boils down to us being persuaded to spend money we don't have on things we don't need to create impressions on people we don't care about. My thesis urged me to do 4 things: wake people up, expose them to alternative and free thinking, get them in touch with their true desires, and help them create their own fantasy. I started with reading. I was exposed to theories about alienation theorized by Karl Marx, critiques on consumerism by Baudrillard, and manifestos against the spectacle from the theories creator Guy Debord. The books and desktop research led me to speak to experts in the field of design, art, activism, media, advertising, and philosophy. At the same time, I began to sketch out ideas. And I sketched, and I sketched. Then I got inspired by a huge spectacle, the Oscars. During an event, actress Jennifer Lawrence had a moment when she tripped and fell while receiving her Oscar, thus breaking the fantasy of the award show. I wanted to create this moment through speculative design in order to break the spectacle of everyday life, attempting to get people to literally stop in their tracks using a suite of everyday objects called distractions to do so. Like furniture that is impossible to take apart when nestled together, or a slippery welcome mat. These moments forces people to stop. When we stop, we think. It uses embarrassment and trickery to get them to question. Similar to the work of my idols that slap society on their hand in order to make us stop and think, I like this approach, but it wasn't enough depth for me. But it taught me that I needed to create interventions rather than solutions. So instead of fighting the spectacle, I decided to embrace the spectacle and use it as a material. In Stephen Duncombe's book, Dream, he coins the term ethical spectacle, which means the spectacle can be used for good. An ethical spectacle needs to be participatory, authentic about its message, open to everyone's ideas, transparent, and aspirational. I explored this concept of creating an ethical spectacle through 3 lenses: service design, social enterprise, and a future scenario. My vision of an ethical spectacle is to give people the materials to question society, just like my thesis has done for me. When I spoke to Sam Golden, educator and activist and founder of the Journal of Radical Shimming, he pointed me in a direction to use art to create spaces for questioning and adding to culture. I took this insight and created Artbox, a service that distributes free thought from people whose art and writing isn't widely publicized. Artbox presents 6 themes a year based on critical and alternative thinking. Our subscribers receive 12 boxes a year. I know it's not a box, but it's a box alternative. The theme is represented by a book that our subscribers receive the first month. It is paired with a summary and suggestion on how to digest that book. The following month, subscribers receive an artist-commissioned object that is inspired by the book and theme. It is paired with a description of the artist's process of creating an object, plus their point of view of the topic. Our online platform allows our subscribers to dive deeper into themes, artists, and be part of our community to exchange dialogue. And the brilliant Lucy Knox is our first artist. Next, I wanted to look at the ethical spectacle through a social enterprise. I wanted to empower people and push them to be more conscious about their fashion purchases. A patch with their name handwritten on it makes the clothing more about them rather than a brand. By partnering with a conscious fashion company like Zadie, consumers will be able to understand who made their clothes and where they come from. Last Mile is all about curating, presenting, and owning your own spectacle. I took this idea of a personal and curated spectacle and applied it to a proposal for future social behavior. The smartphone has allowed us for multiple ways for communicating with each other through media. At the same time, it has made us voyeuristic while consuming inside of a bubble. But what if we turn the phone over and wore our content on our chest? This action makes your chest a platform for projecting and curating your own spectacle, whether it's life experiences, political activism, or in some cases, promotion of other brands. I took this project for a test run to see different reactions. Of course, it was a spectacle, but its content also sparked conversations and interest. These offerings try to expose people to alternatives and present ways to create their own spectacle. But they were missing something. Stephen Duncombe, the man who coined the term ethical spectacle, told me the most ethical thing to do is to help connect people with their own desires and express it through spectacle. So I needed to find a methodology to do that. And I found a bright spot called the 5 Whys technique. The method was created by Toyota's founder to discover the root cause of a problem and ideas within his company. 5 Whys has been implemented in so many different contexts, even parodies.
Because I didn't pay attention in school, okay? I didn't listen in class.
Why?
Because I was high all the time. I smoked too much pot.
Why?
I didn't think it would matter.
Why?
I spoke to Elise McMahon, a designer for activist and educator, and she informed me that she teaches and uses arts and crafts to help her students find their own context. With the 5 Whys and Elise's conversation in mind, I created a co-creative workshop to tap into people's ideal worlds and express it through an advertisement. The workshop created many results. One in particular was an individual expressing the need to create more time to explore nature instead of focusing on all of our time on working. The participants created a mission and then created a fantasy out of that mission. This is what I needed to productize and give to people. But the mission statement is geared towards executing within a company. But a manifesto is something you live and die by. Great people like Martin Luther King, Gandhi, and artists of the past created manifestos that served as reminders of their life's goals. A manifesto uncovers your desires and serves as a roadmap to get there. The world needs to know this. Society needs an intervention. I designed an experience to give people permanent reminders of what they really stand for in this spectacle world. They can keep it in their wallets close to them at all times. It's a reminder, a physical piece of evidence that they are in command of their true desires despite the outside influences bombarding us every single day of our lives. Mobile manifesto took place inside of a truck so the intervention could stay mobile. Inside the truck is a manifesto Mad Lib on an oversized ID card. The Mad Lib is accompanied by carefully chosen inspired words generated from manifestos and mission statements. We snap a picture in front of the ID card and print the IDs on the spot. I was surprised and intrigued to see how long people spent on their manifestos. I was proud that they took declaring their desires and intentions so seriously. People would erase and rewrite, ask a friend what they thought, have a deeper conversation about it, and write it again. A total of 30 people had manifested with an ID card, including this woman who manifested ridiculous and subversiveness into the world, a world filled with spectacle and despicable things that she fights against and wants the world to just think more. In order to scale the concept of manifesting, I created a web app that turns your manifesto into a digital poster called Manifest. Manifest helps you write your manifesto using the 5 Whys method. As you write your answers to the whys, the site searches the internet for relatable content, including images, videos, and links in real time, and users will be able to go to the sources of the content presented to them. The site is interactive and gives you words of encouragement as you go through the 5 Whys. And the site is not only helping you manifest, but presenting you information on topics you are interested in, allowing you to discover new things within your context. After answering the whys, the content that was generated from your manifesto, along with your answers, is converted into a large poster that can change colors, of course, and it's massive, and it's designed to be nonlinear to embody discovery and randomness. This particular poster is my personal manifesto that represents the things I live for and embody. I realize the things that I showed you today are offerings and not solutions. They are interventions. After using these things, the hard work is up to you to make your lifestyles reflect your own desires. The spectacle is a communication tool that employs fantasy to sell you shit. It all boils down to us being persuaded to spend money we don't have on things we don't need, to create impressions on people we don't care about. Instead of taking the bait, write your manifesto and live your life instead of watching it. Thank you.
Okay, well, let's not try to sell them any shit here.
Let's not do it.
I love the fact that that guy was taking a picture of the video harness in the elevator.
Oh, yeah, that's pretty weird, yeah.
Or he was taking a video of the video.
And I was trying to find it on Instagram. I couldn't find it, but that'd have been hilarious.
So it took a while, I think, for us to really understand and get a hold of this notion of the spectacle, a very, very powerful idea. You came out swinging with it, and I think that the class came along after a few weeks. It was a very abstract idea that I think the more that you worked with us, the more that we understood how much actually fell under this category. When did the ethical spectacle, I think you defined that well enough. I was going to ask you to define that better, but I thought that you defined it well. When did that enter the equation?
When I found out that everything is basically the spectacle, I was like, I can't get away from it. So
yeah, it seemed hopeless for a second.
Yeah,
right?
very. And then when I spoke
a week.
When I spoke to Steven, he was just saying that like, you can't get away from it. You kind of have to use it to create ethical things. So that's when that came about.
The manifesto, obviously, really a critical artifact in the world. There are some really great design manifestos. And to enable people to create their personal one, to create the physical evidence, I love how you had instantiated it or embodied it in this laminated thing. It just made it permanent and for real, like on the record. Yeah. Tell us a little bit more about some of the reactions from this truck, the mobile manifesto truck.
So it was freezing outside that day, but it was really good. I thought like people weren't going to take it that serious, but people really did, and I think I got really good reactions as far as like what I'm trying to say and what I'm trying to embody with this thesis, and I think people understood it. I mean, of course, they didn't understand like, oh, you're trying to fight against the spectacle, but they understood that I was trying to get in touch with people's true desires. So the reactions just went pretty well.
You've made it a little bit slippery into the word of fantasy, which you used a couple times in the presentation. And so I wanted to push into that or lean into that a little bit. I'm not sure that I think I need one sort of hand-holding term or a function in an equation to get me from that to fantasy or this sort of future fantasy.
From spectacle to fantasy?
Yeah.
I kind of imagine it in like commercials. So like a car commercial, it's like it starts off with this family inside of this SUV, and they're going to like grandma's house to go to Christmas, and it looks like they're just enjoying life, and you never see the car. You just see this like crazy dream, and it's like, oh, I wish I was like going to my grandma's house on Christmas or whatever. And then at the end of the day, it's just like a Toyota truck comes about, and it's like, oh, buy Toyota.
Right, but yes. And so you're thinking that you can leverage this word fantasy and turn it into a good thing, right?
Yeah, so like people actually like, instead of like seeing that and trying to like go for that fantasy, like create your own fantasy. You have to live it. You can't just like watch it to
And
really, yeah.
Did you find that people distilling their priorities into this personal manifesto at least got them partway there?
Yeah, the manifesto, it was just to get them thinking about that. So like, of course, like it's this very short thing that's like meant for you to go back home and be like, all right, what do I really care about? Like it was like a split. It was like 10 minutes for each one. So like they needed like a lot more time to like really further their manifesto to make it long and really concise.
I'm betting that when they did go home and looked at it, they did spend more time. You know, best Twitter name probably of the day, although May Sun May, it's pretty good. Thank you, Brandon.
Thank you so much.